Alright, now what I want to introduce to you is this really cool tool that will allow you to sort of warp text. So, as a quick example, I'm going to leave these two designs with balance just the way they are and just type a quick word out, design, and watch this. All I'm going to do is double click the T on this top layer, mark design, to highlight it. Then way up here near the top, along the options bar, you're going to see this little T. It's almost like it's a T on a roller coaster, and all you do is click it like that, and it brings up this warp text tool. And right now it says style none. So once again, how did I get to that? We go up top. For those of you who are brand spanking new, we have File, Edit, Image, Layer Type, Select, and we want to make sure that we double click the T to highlight the type, or we can drag the cursor over top. If I go to the T for type, horizontal type tool, I can just drag the cursor over top, or click on top of that T and highlight it, then go back and click on warp text, and then right now it says none, but if I go here I can apply all these different options. Now you're going to want to spend some time just exploring the possibilities. We have what's called the arc, so you can do a negative arc or a negative bend or a positive bend, and then you can play around with the horizontal distortion, so negative distortion or positive distortion. So you have negative, positive on the horizontal, and then you have vertical distortion too. So you're bending it inwards, outwards, all sorts of options. So I'm going to put that back at 0 distortion, and then I'm going to go back to, well, before I do that, we have vertical. So you have horizontal, and then you have vertical, and I can play around with the verticality of it. Now, as you go through this course, you're going to notice there's many ways to achieve the same thing. Later on, we're going to learn about this perspective tool that will do something very similar to what I'm doing right here. But this is a nice option. So we have the arc, and then another option is the arc lower. So we can go that way, bend this way, that way, that way, that way, that way. Arc lower, then we have arc upper, and then we have the arch. Now let me go to cancel and just redo this from scratch. So we can go to arch, which is going upward, and we can bend downward with the arch, or we have bulge. Let's check out this bulge. So we can bulge inward and then bulge outward. I've seen that in a lot of designs. That's kind of cool. It gives it like a three-dimensional look. And then you can play around with the horizontal distortion of it, that way, this way. And then we have shell lower. And then there's shell upper. Now once again, I may go to cancel so it goes back to the way I had it, and just go back into it and play around with the shell lower and shell upper, and play around with the different bends. And then each of these you have vertical and horizontal options. And then there's the flag. Flag's kind of cool. Gives it sort of a wavy quality. And then the wave. The wave's more of a subtle variation of the flag. And then there's the fish. That's interesting. That might be an interesting tool to use for balance. And then rise, going upward, and then fisheye. That pushes it out. That's sort of like another version of the bulge, then a negative fisheye. And then we have inflate. And then there is squeeze. It looks like the last one is twist. That's interesting. So play around with these and see what works for you in terms of the design. Now what I'm going to do is just put this little practice layer down there, turn it off, and I'm going to see how I can integrate one of those techniques into this design to give it a little bit more visual interest and to make it more evocative of the idea of balance. So let's grab that B. Let's see what I can do with this B up top. Well, if I make the B bigger, sort of play around with the idea of weight. I'm going to zoom in a little bit with my zoom tool, hold down my space bar to make the hand appear, and then just double click the B on its own, and let's just see what we can apply. Spend some time exploring different possibilities. Don't apply one effect and then say, well, that's it. Like I could say that's it. No, I don't want to say that's it. I want to look at different options. Probably applying this to just one letter doesn't really do much. Okay, that's interesting. We got B, B arch. Let's see, shell upper. Okay, the flag, that might be interesting. Now what I've decided to do is leave the B the way it is, and I think it may be more visually interesting to apply one of those effects on the A, N, C, E, just to give it a little bit more visual flow. So I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm thinking out loud. I'm looking at this like rise. No, definitely not the rise. I want to give it a little bit of bend. So let's try the wave. Okay, I think the wave is going to be it. So I can give that a little bit of wave that way. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to overdo it. So maybe something like this sort of adds an interesting dimension to the design. And bring that B down like that. Now let's see, if I really want to play with balance, maybe I'll make it look like there's more weight up top. Take that L and sort of tilt it a little bit. Almost like it's a fulcrum. Alright, so we have this little concept. So take some time and just play around with different possibilities with this particular tool. Alright,